Going through these problems here for the second half of the ACT practice test, I color-coded them by alternating colors so I remember to pause every 5 questions. So that's why that's highlighted in green. And I also didn't copy a page, so there's some problems missing. There's like 3 problems missing from the page, like it goes from problem 33 to 37 or something crazy like that. Yep, 33 to 37. So 34, 35, 36 just disappeared somehow when I photocopied from the original. Okay. Looking at these numbers here and subtracting, we know that odd numbers and prime numbers are not the same thing, but a lot of the small prime numbers are a difference of 2. So that means B or C must be 2. So the answer is E. So if you do this minus this, you get 2, that minus that, you get 2, or if you do this minus that, you get 5. So that basically let's talk about differing by 2. Now we're doing a triathlon where we do 3 things. We swim, we bike, and then we run a marathon. So we want the total distance from here to here. That would be SF. And we're trying to find the average rate. So it's total distance divided by total time. So the total time would be TF, the total for the whole thing, because these are your split times. So TF would be the final time. So it's just H, total distance divided by total time. Down here is some basic trigonometry. We're trying to find, they give us sine, cosine, and tangent of 70, so that means we need to know this one right here. We're going to go for this angle here, and we're trying to find BC, so this is my x, so that's opposite adjacent, so it's adjacent and hypotenuse, so it's x over 13 is equal to the cosine of 70, and then to get x by itself you multiply over the 13. Type that in your calculator. Well, you can use that times the 13. Gives me an answer of 4.4. So the answer is 4.4. Okay, now we're looking for slope. These are related together. So slope of this line right here, it's up 4 and over 8. That's a half, which is D. Okay, the next thing we want is the perimeter of MON, which is the whole thing. So this part right here is 4, and this from here to here, of course, is 8. And then we need the Pythagorean theorem to get this side over here. So this side would be 4 squared plus 8 squared, and then you take the square root of it. That's 64, that's 16, so it's the square root of 80 is this missing side. So this side here is this plus this is 12 plus the square root of 80. So it's 12 plus the square root of 80. So you type that in the calculator and you get 20.9. And that's the first 5 questions. Okay, the next 5 questions. You're supposed to find the cosine of this angle up here, MNO. That's this angle right there, MNO. So the cosine of this would be adjacent, which is 4 over the hypotenuse, which is the square root of 80. So it's 4 over the square root of 80. So the answer is B. Number 40, Spanish class. The whole of the class is that part, and then if you take off the part that these people that then did not pass it, you got to take that from the whole. So that's the part, right, that passed it, and then this would be all the people, the total. So I'm highlighting this one because the answer is F. Okay, now we're doing some basic algebra here. We have 5x plus 9 is greater than or equal to, I'm going to distribute this as I write it down, 6x plus 8 plus 7. Put those together, 5x plus 9 is greater than or equal to 6x plus 15. subtract the x over, subtract over the 5x, you get 9 is greater than or equal to x plus 15. Subtract the 15 over, you get negative 6 is greater than or equal to x, which means x is less than or equal to negative 6. So things are smaller than or equal to negative 6, which is A. The next one is basically a surface area question. We want to cover the whole thing with the little tiles that look little squares like this. So a whole bunch of those. So this times this is 36. And then there's a front and a back, so that's times 2. This would be 4 by the 3, so that's 12 times 2. And then the top would be 9 by 3. 9 times 3 is 27 times 2. So there's this dimension, 27, 12, and then 36. So you multiply that times that, 72, 24, and 54. Add those up, and that's your surface area, and that's how many tiles it takes, because each tile is a square centimeter. So the answer is 150K. Okay, the key to this problem here is drawing this line across like this. So this angle now is related to this angle up here. So this angle is 50 degrees because the 50 degrees and the 130 make 150 because those are 180 together. So this is 50, which means this is 28. So 22 and 28 make 50, 50 and the 130, right? Because these two have to be 150. So that means if this is 28, then these have to also make 180. So this would be 152, which would be choice C. All right, number 44. The area of a trapezoid is the average of the bases times the height. So that plus that is 20. Divided by 2 is 10. So 10 is the average of the bases times the height of 3. So 10 times 3 is 30. The answer is G. So it's 1/2 base 1 plus base 2. That means the average two things together and then times the height. 45. We're going to raise each side to the 5th power. So x squared plus 4x is equal to 32, because you do each side to the 5th power to get rid of the 5th root. 2 to the 5th is 32. Solve this like a quadratic, because it is a quadratic, making it equal to 0. Then we factor, equals 0, not 320. And then we get plus 8 minus 4, opposite signs, negative 8 and 4, zero product property. So that would be choice D. Okay, 46. This is another trig one. This is basic trig, like SOHCAHTOA stuff. We know how tall the boulder is, x. We know that this angle right here is 32 degrees from the description. So it's the sine ratio. Sine of 32 degrees is equal to opposite over hypotenuse, which is x over 10. Multiply the 10 over 10 sine 32 degrees is equal to x, which is choice J. 47. If we average 4 things together, so it'd be 2j plus k plus n divided by 4 is equal to 0. So if you average 4 things together, you add them up and you get 0. Multiply the 4 over 2j plus k plus n is equal to 0. Subtract the 2j over, k plus n is equal to negative 2j, which would be choice C. C, 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 C. 48. Basically, this composition of functions, you're putting the g function inside the f function, so that's the g function right there. So the answer is J. And that takes us to the next set of 5. Okay, so this one here takes Takes a little bit longer to figure out. What I did for this one here is I did distance equals rate times time. Distance equals rate times time. And they're going around the track, right? So Rusty went D around the track, which is 6,000 feet, and the other guy went the other direction, so it would be the other remaining part of 6,000, so 6,000 minus D. This is Rusty, and this is Dale. Rusty went faster, so he went R plus 8. Dale went the rate, and the time was 150 seconds, because they matched each other after 150 seconds. So distance is equal to rate times time. So it's 150 times R plus 8. 6,000 minus D is equal to 150 times R. So what I then did is I distributed this through, and I got D is equal to 150 R plus this times this is 1,200. Now 150R, I can substitute that in for it. So D is equal to 6,000 minus D plus 1,200. Add the D over, 2D is equal to 7,200. Divide, D is equal to 3,600. So it's 3,600 is the distance that they traveled. And we have to figure out the rate that goes with that. So we put that back up in one of these equations here. We want any equation would work. I guess we could put it in this equation right here. So we got 3,600 is equal to 150 R plus 1,200. Subtract with the 1,200, 2,400 is equal to 150 R. Okay, R divides into 2,400 16 times. Let me double check my math here. 2,400 divided by 150 16 times. So the rate is 16, right? But they want to know how fast Rusty went. And Rusty went not 16, but he went 8 more than the R. So he went 24. So the answer is 24. Number 50, the answer is K. And 51, it's 36. It's 6 laps. 6 laps is 36,000 feet because it's 6,000 per one. So one lap is 6,000. 6 laps would be 36,000 feet. He did that in 90 minutes. So we're going to change that to feet per hour because that's what it says to do, feet per hour. So we're going to multiply by 60 minutes over 1 hour. The minutes cancel, and you do this times this divided by that. Answer 24,000 feet per hour. The next one here works really well with graph paper. So if you don't really have access to graph paper, so you kind of do the best you can, and it's not too bad to figure out without graph paper. So -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2. So there's the center, and you go over 2, and you go up 2, and you go this way 2, and you go down 2. So there's the first circle. Okay, and that's the equation of a circle right there. Some of you may not know that. And it's centered at -4 because you switch the sign. -4, comma, +2 with a radius of 3. So this one is at -4. That's -5. So -4 is right there. Because that would be -5, -4, -3. So it's right there. And it's 3 out. Radius of 3, so 1, 2, 3 right there, and then it goes from here over 1, 2, 3, which would be right there. So it actually goes like this. Okay, so where's -2, 2? over 2 up to would be right in here. So it's only in circle B. So the answer is G. It's only in circle B. Okay, we know the perimeter of this heart. So from here to here is 4, from here to here is 4. So that's where these 8s are coming from. So it's either B or C. And then basically, there's the square right there. So if you put this and this together, you get a whole circle. And the radius is 2, because from there to there's 4, so it's a radius of 2. So if you put these together, you get 2 pi r. So the radius is 2, so it's 2 pi times 2, so it's 4 pi would be the whole thing put together as a circle. So the answer is B. Alright, in math, this means that the figure flips over the y-axis, and the only one that flips over the y-axis is F. So that's what that means. It flips over the y-axis if you see that. Okay, this is the distance formula, number 55. So you subtract, so it's to be W minus 4 squared, and then it'd be this minus this. So you subtract the x values, you subtract the y values, so it'd be W plus 5 minus W and then plus 5 squared, then take the square root. That's the distance formula. So this would be negative 3W squared, and then the W's cancel out, but you get 10 plus 10 squared. And you take the square root. Well, that's 100, and that's the only one that has the 100 underneath the square root symbol, so the answer is B. This is one of the most basic trig identities ever, sine squared. Oh, it isn't sine squared plus cosine squared. It's cosine squared plus cosine squared. When I looked at this before, I just assumed that it was sine squared plus sine squared. So let me stop for a second and take a peek. Okay, basically what you do here is if you switch this, the cosine squared of r is the same thing as the sine squared of s. So sine squared plus cosine squared is 1, so the answer is 1. Okay, that's what's going on with that one. The next one here, it's a ratio. So here to here is 3 times as much. So here to there is 3 times as much. So those are 18. So I want to know how big those are, 18, which is C. This one here, you have to have some knowledge of matrices, but basically you do row by column. And you multiply the row by the column, and then you add. So it's 0, and then that'd be negative 4. So that's where the negative 4s are coming. And you do this times that, which would be 0 again, and then negative 12. So it's this one right here, F. And the last two, basically factorial means 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, etc. Well, if you had 5 factorial divided by 3 factorial, it'd be 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 over 3 times 2 times 1. So those all cancel and you get 20. So that's what they're talking about there. Well, if that's 5, then n has to be 4. And n would have to be 4 there to make that 3. So it's 4 factorial, which is 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which is 24. Answer D. They want to know the ratio of a radius to the circumference. They cancel out. You get a 1 on the top. It's 1 over 2 pi. Answer K.